Thank you for checking in. It's Dr. Glenn, your WordPress security fanatic. Today we're going to talk about a common technique hackers are using to get into WordPress sites. I see it occasionally. I think it's more common than a lot of people know. Let's get into it. So let me share my screen so you can see what I see. And here we have the test site that we're working on and the control panel for the hosting account. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is look in the hosting account so that you can see what the big issue is. Let's just jump right into it. So you go to the file manager, and we're going to open up the public HTML directory, and this is the typical install. Okay, what are we seeing here? These are the three files or the three folders that contain most of your WordPress goodies. And then these are the sort of core files here for the front of the site. And what happens is people come in to work on your WordPress. Maybe you've done this before. You're in there messing around. You decide that you're going to create a backup. Now, I actually saw on YouTube a video from a YouTube streamer that was teaching people how to fix their WordPress. I'm all for learning, but he told them to do this, and I'm going to show you why this is a terrible idea. So what he told them to do was to rename files as they're going along. So if we're talking about a plugin file, for example, the first thing you need to do is turn off your plugins. And how you do that is go into your file manager, go to the plugins directory, and you rename it. So if the plugins was called landslide plugin, it would be the folder for that plugin would be renamed landslide off, and so forth, while the people were working on the like. And the configuration file would be also copied and renamed to wp-config.bak for backup, right? Instead of the typical PHP, extension. What makes a PHP file special is that, unlike an HTML file, where your browser contributes to deciphering the code, that's why you can have certain codes that work with one browser platform and not with another, because your browser reads the HTML. PHP is a different animal. You have an interpreter on the server, and when you pull a file that's PHP, the PHP interpreter on the server reads all the file information, decides what it's supposed to do with it, and then spits out the information that your browser sees. And so you can't really view, even if you were to visit a PHP page and you went to right mouse click and said view the source, you wouldn't be able to see the source of the PHP file, like the code. You would only see the code that the server is giving to your browser after it has done some work on the back end. All right, so that's one of the things that makes PHP even more secure, except that, there's functions in PHP that don't exist in HTML. So there's certainly vulnerabilities before anybody jumps on me. I'm aware. Okay. All right. So in here, you've got this wp-config.bak. Now on my server, if I were to go directly to that, so I went to the demo server demo domain URL / wp-config.bak, on my server, it would give me a forbidden. But on a lot of servers, it'll just download that file. Now, if a person, because it's not PHP, so it's not picking it up and working with it, it's just saying, oh, I don't know what that file is, we'll just download it to the users, just like a TXT file or anything else. So if you hit a PHP file and you don't have a plugin in your browser, it'll just download it. So if you've backed up your configuration file, I'm here to tell you people will find it. They will find it if you've renamed it .bak or .txt, or it's absurd to imagine, but you can't hide it through obfuscation very easily. It's certainly not. I mean, even this. Okay, I've seen this in files. Even this, they're going to guess it eventually, and they're going to find that file. So how do I know? Well, I've seen it a million times, but I've also watched my server logs, and I see how people are trying to attack the sites. I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. Here we are. We're going to go to the dashboard. And in our WordFence, there is a section down here called Live Traffic. And you can see who's hitting your site and what's going on with the live traffic, okay? So here we are at the live traffic. These are the live traffic updates for the site. What do we see today? Well, about an hour ago, a whole lot of 404 errors coming in from Boyden, Virginia. Why is this happening? Non-existent page, non-existent page. This is scanning, basically. It's the same way they find those backup files. They go to your site with their little bot or whatever, and they try to hit pages that may or may not exist. It's just, like throwing a dart. They hoping to hit something. Okay, if it comes back and it's not a 404 error, it's something else, like a forbidden error, or just gives you the file, then in that case they have a vulnerability because they know. So what does this one look like, or what are they actually looking for in this particular example? It looks like they are searching for plugins. They're trying to find out, does this website use any of these plugins that are vulnerable? And so here's, let's follow this down to plugins directory / shortcode add-ons. So if you had this plugin, shortcode add-ons, you would also probably have the README file that comes with it, right? And then it would display, and the bot would know, and it would tell the hacker that that plugin exists, so they can try to hack your site. So it's looking for this one. Now it's looking for this one, super logo showcase. In this case, it's looking for a cascading style sheet that's vulnerable. Here it's looking for the worst. Oh my gosh, don't ever put this on your site. The file manager programs that they have, don't ever use those. In any event, they're looking for the README TXT. Notice they're not looking for PHP files, right? Because the PHP file doesn't do them any good. Now let's see what else they're looking for here. VC tabs. I could just go on and on, couldn't I? In any event, what they're doing is like a shotgun. They're just shooting a blast at the server to see if any of these pages return a found page code, so they know if you have those. It's brilliant, really, if you think about it. They have a big list of vulnerable plugins, and then they just check and see what you may or may not have. I'm going to show you how to prevent this from happening to you, or at least slow it down here in just a couple of minutes. What else is going on? Okay, so you see these are 404 not founds. These are blocked. So this is where the firewall I don't have very many rules on this firewall, but this is where it's actually blocking. It says it's blocked for accessing a banned URL, and I know exactly what this one is. Remember we set up the landmine? People fall into that. So these packets were all sent at the same time. That's why you see a bunch of them before they got blocked. But one of these is going to say the landmine. Let me see if I can, here it is right there. So remember, they go to that landmine. If I were to click on that, I'd be banned too. So in an earlier video, I showed how to set a trap for hackers. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it. It is very exciting and it's very fun. And look, you get to watch people fall into the trap, right? So that's pretty neat. And there's another one that fell into the trap, and I probably could go for quite a while looking for those. All right, let's get out of here and let's go to the rules for the firewall, and I'm going to show you how to prevent this. How to prevent this scattering attack where they're just throwing a dart at a billion different URLs on your site to see if they can catch anything. So I'm going to go over here to the firewall for WordPress and click on all firewall options. Now remember that was a bot, right? We also call them crawlers. So if you scroll down here, you're going to see under the rate limiting area. How do we deal with this? Well, you should, first of all, I recommend that you go look at your log files before you do this and try to determine if you have a lot of natural 404s on your site. That is to say, do you have pages on your site that maybe used to exist and they don't exist anymore, and those you have bad links that you left behind, so a person tries to go to that page or they bookmark that page and they're gone now? You really want to get rid of all your 404 errors is to the greatest extent possible. So for this scenario, we're going to pretend like I've done all of that and I don't have any 404s on my site. That is to say, I don't expect any genuine traffic, any real visitors to hit a page or to try to follow a link or something. It takes them to a page that doesn't exist. Okay, so that's not happening in our world today. So now we look, here it says if a crawler, that's a bot, if the crawler's page views exceed this much, throttle it. If a crawler's page is not found, the 404s exceed some number, throttle it. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this very restrictive. I'm going to set that to 2 per minute. And I know there's a bunch of people like, you're crazy, that's too restrictive. Okay, that's my server. That's what I've decided to do because I don't have any pages that I expect people hitting that are 404s. And so for now, because my site's been under attack, I'm going to do this. So I'm setting it to 2 and I'm clicking the save changes. Now, what do I expect to happen? Let me just reiterate very quickly. In the live traffic view, where we saw all of these 404 errors come up, we know that this person, in this case, they're saying it's a human that did it. And down here, I think I saw the word, no, that says human too. Interesting. It doesn't always get it right. Doesn't always get it right. It does. I'm sure that this isn't a person typing these in one at a time. This is in fact a script that's running, or something like that. So let me go back over here to the firewall again, and this is great thing. I mean, I made a little mistake, and now hopefully you'll be able to also benefit from this. All firewall options, going down here to the rate limiting, and now it says if a human's 404 exceeds such and such, and I'm going to set that also to 2 per minute and click save changes. So now we've just locked down 404. So if people try to go to a page that doesn't exist on the site more than 2 times in a minute or a couple of minutes, now that provides for the chance that you might have a 404 that's bad, right? Or 2, a person clicks a link and it takes them to a page that doesn't exist, and you didn't realize it because you've been doing some development or somebody's working. It just lets the visitor go about their life. But if they were to genuinely hit 3 of them within 2 minutes a time, then it will block them. I don't think it's that restrictive if your site's in good shape, but some people would disagree, and that's okay. That's all right. So as you can see, a couple of things that we need to do here are, number 1, make sure we don't have any files in the core of our site that end with that .back or off or any of those backup kind of renamed file structures. And the other thing is to prevent people from finding those kinds of things on our site anyway, or by using that shotgun approach. Now, one of the things that you can do to help prevent the chance that they would find anything or get any information, how do you keep a backup in a safe way in your file management? Well, what you can do is you can rename it PHP, because if PHP were dangerous, right, you wouldn't have a file called wp-config.php like this one, right? The reason that that's safe is because it ends in that .php, and the server grabs the calls that come in and sends it to the interpreter, which chooses what information to spit out to the visitor. They can't actually view that kind of a file. They might be able to view a .bak or a .off, but they certainly can't view a .php, because that is how the security works on the server as far as PHP programs are generally safe, provided they all have the right permissions and so forth. So we just rename this. So instead of a .bak, we'll just take that little dot away. Maybe we'll obfuscate it a little bit more, and then we'll just rename it PHP. There's no reason why that should hurt anything. It's no different. You still have a backup of what you wanted, or a copy of what you wanted, in this case, the config file. You've given it a tag so you know what it is. To your eye, when you see it, you know, oh, that's my backup, because you put that code in, if that's what it meant to you. But you just kept it .php. So if by using that shotgun approach, there should ever be the opportunity, well, how would a person find that? It seems incredible, doesn't it? Don't forget that there's always that off chance that a vulnerability will give people an opportunity to look at your log files, or otherwise be able to sniff the files in your account. So just use good practices. Don't assume that they're not going to find it. Some I've seen this. People will say, if you just rename it to something really difficult, it's just as good as why your passwords work. It's just as good, because they'll never look for that file, right? They'll never try to find this, crazy long file. Okay, I'm not going to say that's not true, that obfuscating file names is a good thing. It is a good thing. Everything that helps thwart and make things more difficult is a good thing. But it's not always the case that it's going to, by default, prevent people from getting in, because, like I said, they can sniff the log files or otherwise crawl the site if there's another vulnerability that allows them to do that. Okay? So, in your file manager area, let me just recap. I'll be quick. Don't go away. In your file manager, rename any of those .back, .off, .whatever things to PHP and obfuscate the file name. Let's do both, okay? And in your firewall program that I am a big fan of, the WordFence, make sure that you're checking the live traffic once in a while so you can see how people are trying to get into your site, and set those firewall tools so that they can't just keep trying and trying and trying. If they have, whatever number you set them to block, if they get 3 404s in a minute, maybe it's 10 404s in a minute, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with as far as a limit it. And then you'll be good to go. All right. So if you have been hacked and you need help, reach out to me and I will help you. I'll leave some information in the description. And until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Whoop, there we go.